Here's the question. How do you make the impossible possible? Simple. Remove the I am, the ego. Now, how do you step into that newfound possibility? With a series of small intentional steps. Never forget, the greatest among us started from humble beginnings. But to truly unlock your potential, realize you're here for something greater. If you're yearning for more than just a good life, let's take that small step together to reach greatness. Welcome to the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where we're talking to those who have gone from mediocrity to motivated, overlooked to overachieving, forgettable to unforgettable. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everybody. We are in the midst of summer, and I've got some thoughts running through my head. It's an intense part of the year, a lot going on. Customers even are in a tense mental space, some of them. And, it's project after project, and this is at work and even at home, project after project, and we're slugging it out. And we are, what's the best way to put this? People that are intense come our way, but it seems like there's a lot of them. And there actually isn't. It's really a fairly small number, but boy, when they're coming, it seems like it in groups. And that's the way the last couple of days have been. There's been a couple of things and some really good things, intermixed into it. And, a customer called up, wasn't even mad at me, just some circumstances. And anyway, I worked it out, and it's just that way when things get like when the temperature goes up. And why is that? I'm not exactly sure. But this sense of control comes out that people need it. They need what they need right away. And there's just like this uncomfortability. I don't know. It's probably too general a statement, but that's the way it seems at this moment. And trying to get a couple of days off coming up, and that makes this nearly impossible because you got this little thing and that little thing, and each of them take time. And so, well, do I cancel one of the days? I might. It might be the way it works. And so we're trying to, kick some cans down the road so that we and a couple other people on my team trying to kick some cans down the road so that we can just take a minute here and there. But we'll see how it works out. Got the other things that's on my mind, that's on a deeper inside my mentality, inside my thinking cap, so to speak, is about regrets. And when it comes to this podcast, the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where, we talk a lot, I talk a lot, and when I have guests, we talk a lot about the variety of things that we have come from, most of them where like a smallness, or we came from nothing, no finances. We came from, we had enough to eat, but we didn't have anything else. We had new school clothes every year, and we had enough to eat, but we didn't have anything else, or, whatever our list is. But the interesting thing about regrets, I listened to a video recently by like an old country guy that's on, I should get his name because I keep finding him and then I forget him. I need to write it down so that I can pop back onto his page. He's on YouTube, and I just caught a little glimpse of him on Instagram earlier today. And it's good. It's like country philosophy. He's got a big gray beard, which of course I can't grow. I can just barely do what I have. But he was talking about regrets, and he was saying, some people get all stressed out about regrets, about, well, I will never have regrets, and there's a point to it that he was making that I agree with, is that sometimes we look at what's happened in our life and we say, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I'm happy with who I am, or at least I'm improving to be the person that I want to be, and therefore I should not regret what I have done or what I've been in the past. And I just think that I agree with him in that that's not true. We can learn about who we want to be and who we need to be and the next step is for growth. We can learn that, but we should resonate with our regrets. Often on this podcast and other places, I've said a lot of times that the windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror. So we can't be safe going forward in life if we're always looking at the rearview mirror. We can't even be safe, much less going fast, going at a pace that is normal or at least good for us. And so we can't spend a bunch of time looking back. And yet those regrets about things we've done, sins we've done, bad things we've done, good things we've done that were misinterpreted, uh, sentences we've said or words we've said that have been misunderstood. We can regret those words. That is really good, actually, to regret those words, and then to perhaps apologize or perhaps reconcile or perhaps seek, some redeeming thing that comes out of it. And it might be relationship. It might mean a deeper conversation because you might regret something you did to someone else. A great example of that is a husband and wife relationship. There are some things about that drive me more today to dig in deeper with my wife in regards to difficult conversations. I don't love having them. I would just rather not, because I like peace and I like fun and I like joy, and I don't like the negative sides of any of those things. But early in my marriage, peace was like the most important thing to me. So I didn't dig in on some of the deeper things that I should have with her. I didn't ask deeper questions and try to get a deeper understanding on certain things or confront issues that were between us. I would often just let them slide. She is a very forgiving person, but that doesn't mean those things went away. About 2 years ago or so, maybe not even quite, but here we've been married 42 years. And so in my 40th year, I find out that I said something when I was 18 years old. Maybe it was even 17, because I was 18. We got married when I was 19, 5 months before I was 20. And so 18 years old, you know, that was not long. She married me anyway, but I said something to her that implied that I thought she wasn't the most beautiful person I'd ever dated, and or something like that. And I could quote it, but it's none of your business what exactly it was. But it left an impression with her that I didn't think she was pretty. And I look now at our wedding pictures and I think, my gosh, she's gorgeous. And I'm glad I married her. And then I look at some pictures that were a number of years later, and I look, man, what a lucky guy. And we have this one picture when we were in Italy together one time on a mission trip, and we were just out at a restaurant with some friends, and we were pulling together, uh, had between us a piece of spaghetti, and we were smiling at each other and pulling, and then ended up kissing. And it was just, and there's a picture of when we're about 2 inches apart. And it's an endearing picture, but I look at her in that picture and I think, she's beautiful and what a lucky guy I am. And yet, and that was okay. I must have been 28, 30 something when that picture was taken. And I was 25 when another picture was taken, and 19 when another picture was taken. And in each case, I look back now and say, wow, I'm such a lucky guy to have her. And even today, I look at her, and of course, we both fall asleep early, sit there in our chairs, and I look across the room at her now, and she's sleeping or she's resting or she's, scrolling something on her phone or whatever. And I still look most of the time, and I just think, amazing. It's amazing the life we've had together. We've been together twice as long together as we were apart. And what a great run. And yet at 18 years old, I said something that stuck with her, and I regret that. It was selfish, immature, and hurt her. And I looked at her one time when we were talking about it. I said, why did you stay with me? And I honestly don't remember the response, but we continued to talk through it, and I still wonder the same thing. Well, why, if I hurt you, did you continue to come my way? That doesn't seem actually super healthy or mature either. And and so I regret it on yet another level, is that maybe there was enough good that she felt almost compelled or trapped or something. Now we've had a great life, but I look back at that and I say, I was a child and I regret what I did, but it's made me more careful in the last couple of years since I heard about that instance. It's made me more careful, and it's made my thinking more careful. So if there's ever a time when she does something that irritates me and I go, that's kind of gross that she does that, I refuse to let it reflect on the fact that I don't think she's beautiful. Like I just don't let it go in my mind. And so that regret is from back then has driven me to be better, to think intentionally. And I appreciate that regret. There's other things I've done in business over the years that I regretted. I just can't believe I made some bad decisions. I joined up with other people in the industry to do a project or different things, and not all of them went south. Some of them were very relieving because at least I had someone next to me on my shoulder working together on something, and that was nice at times. But they almost always ended that period of time whenever it wasn't just one project. That period of time almost always ended poorly. And so I have the regrets. It taught me, unfortunately, a little bit to be more independent and to, if I am going to join in with somebody else, to make it very clear that I have certain boundaries. And if those boundaries get crossed, well, I'm not going to fuss over it. I'm just going to say, well, this little venture we've had together is over. It's not going to, it just isn't going to be emotional. And that regret of those times is what drove me to kind of have those boundaries. And I think that regret to some degree is a good thing. We should look back at our past and the bad decisions we made and say, what a blessing that I've come out of those bad decisions, but also regret those decisions so that we learn the full lesson. Now, this is wordsmithing, right? There's other ways of saying the same thing, but I really believe that we should take those glimpses in the rearview mirror and say, what am I continuing to learn from that 18-year-old me or the 8-year-old me that felt a certain way? I felt like the little kid and the kid that was left out. And that person back then shouldn't be informing all of my decisions, but as I've become much more mature, I can regret those feelings because they weren't true. They were garbage, and I can actually resonate with them and appreciate better where I am. I think something like that is the best way to say it. But I appreciated what this guy just sitting there talking said about regret. And that's what this podcast today is about. It's how can we become our greatest, our best version of ourselves, to become the great person, the great example, the great influence and transformational conduit that God has put on us on this earth to be. And some of that, I really believe, comes with looking at our past and saying, yeah, that was a series of bad decisions. That was not good decisions. Just today, I was talking to somebody. He's a realtor, owns a small, like realtors have to, they're responsible for booking their own book of business. And they have to pull people in. They get a few freebies and a few gimmies from other people and from the agency, so to speak. But they have to go get their own. And I was talking to him and about some of the things going in my business, and he asked if I was going to retire soon. I'm like, I don't think so. I would like to do some coaching, and here's why I think I'm qualified. Is what I said to him, is because I've made lists, long lists of mistakes over the years, and that's why I'm qualified. Now, will I have every right answer for the person and tell them this is what you do? Maybe not, but I will have a long list on discussions of answers and a long list of being able to discuss things that I did that were not smart. And when giving advice, when basically saying, yeah, here's what, if I was your coach, this is what I'd tell you. And I have appreciated the coaches that I have in my life over the last couple of years who have done that for me. No, no, no. Be patient. Be patient. Like if you do what you're saying, if you react in this way, then the outcome, though we're not sure, might be this right here. But if you're patient, it'll reveal itself better. And I really appreciated some of that coaching to not jump. I'm not one to really jump anyway, most of the time, but I have made some what I call today impetuous decisions, like immature, rash, like quick decisions. And most of the time, they are done on feeling, I want to do this, so I do it. And instead of thinking through it and thinking through the ramifications and having some, what I said earlier about having some independence in my own head to say, I'm the man of my own destiny and I need to take responsibility for the outcomes. And let me just search the outcomes real quick. And it doesn't always take that long to figure out what we shouldn't do. And yet this day, when I'm 62 years old, right now, I can look back and now my decisions are informed by years of doing things wrong at times and years of examples of how I did it half right or 75% right. But I know I can get most of the way there most of the time now because of all the bad lessons I've learned or the lessons that just the projects and things that just fell short and I can do much better. So that's kind of what this podcast is today for me. It's me blurting and saying, I don't think we should go around saying I have no regrets, get the tattoo with no regrets on the chest or on the arm because we should have regrets. If we have a human soul that hurts for ourselves, for our path and for others, then we really should. We really should and we can and should have some regrets. If we wallow in them and if we stay stuck in them, then I think that's completely wrong also. I heard on a podcast today, it was Mike Rowe's podcast, and somebody was on there and the guest was saying something about sometimes there's things like anger and bitterness and resentment, and he listed several other things that they hide in the bushes and they reach out and they grab us and they pull us in. And we can choose to stay in the bushes because, it isn't always that uncomfortable. We know what we have, we know what's here. If it's anger or bitterness that pulls us in, or comparison or whatever it is, we know that space, whatever space is our issue. For some, it's resentment. For some, it's worry. And it pulls us into the bushes. And you know what? We know that one. So we're going to stay in that spot. But the things that have happened in our past help us understand that we need to walk out of those bushes and get back into the sunlight so that we can get the warmth on our shoulders and get a different perspective and let God, the God of light, inform us now what we do with the anger, the resentment, the whatever it is you're dealing with, the worry. And that was a really good analogy that we can get drug into the bushes by these things and then we get stuck there and stay there because we picture it as more comfortable than pushing back out into the light and let the light shed on the issue that we have that we need to work our way through. And that's hard work. It's hard work of being human. And, but the point is get out of the bushes, get in the light, get in the light of God and let him speak to you and get good advice, have people coach you, and go back into your past, look in the rearview mirror every now and then and say, and especially when you're empathizing in the conversations, yeah, I have some regrets similar to that too. These things happened in my life, and I wish I hadn't gone like that. There are things I did as a father and still do as a father that I regret, and I wish I wasn't the way I am to some degree. And yet I'm on this long trajectory of changing that and being different than that. That being said, I hope that's encouraging to you all for just to say I have things I've done that I'm not very proud of. And let me get back to the way that I always like to finish this podcast. Sometimes I just don't prepare fast enough to to uh, to finish with this right at the top of the. I don't have it open, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm stumbling over my words. Okay, down to brass tacks, and I'll finish up here. It's okay to have regrets. If we live in them and work in them, that's not okay. And maybe need to get some coaching or some help, some counseling, some coaching for sure, someone to talk through things with. Always see light in the darkness in our past because there's always light in it. There's a good lesson in it. And if you're going to be great, if you're going to be the great that God wants you to be, then you have to resonate with your past. You have to go back and dig a little bit. You have to. And then even as late as, well, what was it yesterday? What was it the day before? What happened that I could have done a little bit better? And it's not about beating yourself up. It's about really, really actually improving. I would like you to remember this. I read this a lot. You were designed for accomplishment. You were engineered for success, and you were endowed with the seeds of greatness. The seeds of greatness. I love that. You get to allow them to be planted in your life. And I believe that those experiences in our past are exactly some of the things that are ways that the seeds of greatness are being planted. Now, there's a lot of positive that are planted also, a lot of positive seeds. And then the regrets is often feels like negative seeds, but they're not all negative. Remember that as you remember what's said here. You were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness. That's you. Now, go be great.